Good day and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The reason for this emergency broadcast is because the events that are unfolding throughout the world, you folks need to hear from the people that are communicating with me. So please listen, comment, and share. The way that you overcome shadow banning is to share what I'm explaining to you. First of all, what's happening in the Ukraine is ironically it is a quiet war with silent weapons. The silent weapons, ladies and gentlemen, are the lies that are being told throughout the world about Ukraine. I have people there that are telling me the direct opposite, students included, cross-referenced. It is the direct opposite of what is actually happening. So, if you have not comprehended what I'm saying, I'll explain it again. The silent weapons are the lies that you're being told. Those lies are not just about the Ukraine. They are, in fact, about your governments, as it were, your sheriffs, your courts. In fact, the entire infrastructure is one big, large corruption, which you already know. The manner in which that corruption is collapsing around them is that they are being caught out on the lies that they have been telling. We are actually only days, if not weeks away of actually the entire system of the lies being replaced with something much more wholesome. The wholesome, of course, is the cryptos that are being around, the cryptos like Bitcoin. As for the other coins, my instincts, this is not factual, my instincts tells me they're not going to have much of a life because most of them actually are owned by central organizations. There are exceptions to this. The silent weapons that are being used against you are the lies that they're being telling you and hoping that they will continue lying. Anybody switching on the BBC will know the magnitude of the lie, which is a complete contradiction to what is actually happening. They did this in Iraq 1, 2000 and something, Iraq 2, under Bush Major as it were. They did it in every single war, conflict you can possibly imagine. Their success rate of being able to lie is actually collapsing around them. And as they are collapsing around them, people are actually shifting their banking and their money into cryptos. Full stop. Here's the bit that is of greatest concern to you folks. The quiet wars, and this is not the wars that are happening in Ukraine, that is just smoke and mirrors. The actual quiet wars that are being fought is actually the cyber war that is taking place as we speak. That war is that the Federal Reserve, with its centralized system of total and utter corruption, is being successfully hacked away at them by millions of people coming in their direction that are, in wanting for a better word, starfish organizations. These are the unique individual men and women that are out there that have realized that they cannot rely upon their fellow man, as it were, but they have to do things for themselves. In doing so, you've now got a common cause. That is, how long can they get away with a lie? Well, round about 40% of the people are actually bought into the lie. Once that even begins to compromise itself, this is a war of how many people you can lie to for how long. The cyber wars we're talking about is that the system of decentralization is collapsing all around you. In the US, I'll pause a minute. In the US, quite literally, hundreds of thousands of lorry drivers are taking to the roads. They're not just culminating in places, they're just taking their lorries off for service. The entire USA runs on the road networks and lorries. And because the lorry drivers have seen that level of corruption in their bank accounts, with the sheriffs and the departments around them, the court systems, the ticketing, the speed ticketing, the harassment that they go through, as well as in Ireland, they have actually had enough. And they've had enough to realize that these are common things that are happening to normal working class men and women. Essentially, the lorry drivers have switched off. They have switched off the ability for banks, the ability for the governments, and these departments that are so dependent upon the lorry drivers, they've simply cut it off. That's like the entire workforce going on strike, because they've just simply had enough of being lied to, cheated, robbed, stolen from, full stop. You know that the sheriffs and the deputies and the courts are not your friend and never was. Their sole purpose is to terrorize you. That is what they do. They terrorize you. There is a 80-20% ratio in all of this, which means that 80% are actually totally and utterly corrupt, and they go out stealing, robbing from people. 20% they need as good men and women to keep the rest in check. This is called the 20-80% ratio. So around about 20% of them know what's going on, and they're the good people, but they are unable to do anything. I suspect they are simply waiting for the men and women of this planet to do the things that needs to be done. Your government is the terrorist organization. Democide simply means your government, it means death by government. Your government is the largest killer on this planet. That's called democide. Side means to kill, as in cyanide. So if I have not made it clear, the cyber war that is going on is that quiet war. This whole system is becoming decentralized. And in order for the banks, which essentially is the maker of these things, in order to make that transition as hard as possible for the men and women on this planet, they are causing all manner of conflicts in places like Ukraine. When you hear in the news that they are sending over drones, that they are sending over this and that to the Ukraine, what they're basically doing is that they're actually providing service to Putin to take out that segment of the rogue there that is totally dictatorial. They are not a democracy, and you don't want democracy, because if I told you what democracy was, like democide, you would want to flush it down the toilet. Avoid using words that you don't nothing about. America has like the Canadians, have been using words like democracy, and yet this is the outcome of your democracy. In your face, it has been totally revealed that democracy is the very opposite of what you think it is. You'll be sold the idea that you have to go back to democracy. Democracy, you don't want democracy because you don't even have the ability to cast a vote, let alone elect. You understand what I'm saying? Biden's election made that very clear. You do not count, and you never had a count, and nor will you ever come anywhere near decision making. They made that very clear. This is what democracy is. And since you've signed the all powers of attorney, the lawyers are administering your affairs. Your sheriffs and your deputies have proven themselves to be so belligerent, there is no choice but to put them under arrest. Your court systems, the Admiralty courts, have shown themselves to be so belligerent, so disgusting in their conduct and manner, they're actually asking men and women to put them under arrest. Full stop on that. The Americans have now successfully mobilized themselves. As a result, they now know that their passivity in anything will not work. In order to get back your corona, to get back your crown, which the City of London stole from you, you're going to have to take it back by not asking, by simply saying, that's mine, put it back on my head. That's called zero tolerance. In law, you have zero tolerance. You must never, ever tolerate a sheriff or a deputy that will harm you. You have the ability to arrest them, and you must arrest them. And with the Canadians, I taught them how to do these things last Thursday. As a Chief Federal Postal Court judge and as a plenipotentiary judge, my ability to aid this planet smoothly so the decentralization and the Federal Reserve Bank just simply die away for what it is, a starter of wars and issuers of notes that they themselves cannot back up. And just as in their document that reveals modern money mechanics, that the system itself is geared up so the value of the existing dollar in your pocket will have little or no value to the point where you cannot even pay your rent on it. And hence, new mortgages will be negotiated, new rents will be negotiated, where you are in a perpetual state of servitude to them. This includes the electricity, gas, water supply, so on and so forth. I had a letter through my letterbox saying my energy company is going to raise its prices on average by 54%. 54%. That knock-on effect on commerce itself in this country, as well as other countries, it will knock out, their attempt is to knock out the individual store owners that provide these services, which is kind of what the lifeblood of any high street is. Once they're gone, the big corporations will just simply come in and set the price that they want. So this mechanism, this nightmare locking in people into servitude is for real. And the Americans and the Canadians are now showing their so-called slave masters, your life is now in compromise. Zero tolerance makes it very clear. You cannot tolerate intolerable things. That's in law, look it up. The Filipinos, ladies and gentlemen, their actual real name is called White Mongolians. They're actually called White Mongolians. We will not discuss the prefix of white, what white means and what black means, because I've released quite a lot of information. The Philippines have got back their gold, their corona. They've got it back because they were out of bankruptcy. They're being out of bankruptcy now. And as a result, their corona, which is another word for their crown, has returned back to them. So that is good news. Their traditional golds are being returned. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the knock-on effect of the energy price increase just on a domestic level means that there is going to be round about 50% price hike in virtually everything. This includes your fuel. This includes your food supply. This includes your gas. This includes your transport. This includes things like property tax, council tax, mortgage rates, etc. In fact, everything what is known as an essential service is now so high, or will become so high, for you to access it will mean that you will almost certainly be in a poverty situation. Hence, the average American only lives paycheck to paycheck. Understand the vulnerability of how much that, understand what that means in economic vulnerability. That means you've got 4 weeks for those people that get paid monthly. You've got 4 weeks before you have to, you have 4 weeks until your living capacity expires and you start the whole process again. And if you don't have the resources to go for another week or so, you are now in debt. And debt carries an interest rate with it. That interest rate is calculated in such a way that you cannot actually pay it back. Theoretically, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in debt to $1,000, the interest rates of 20% is $200. Of 20%, that's $200. Your average card, as it were, is round about 39%. That's, just think about it, that's $400 on top of 1,000. Yeah. I know it's challenging because your education system rigged you up in order for you not to be able to perform basic calculations. Full stop. As a Federal Postal Court judge and a Plenipotentiary judge, my ability to usher in this planet is unlimited. I've trained the Canadians. I'm happy for the Americans to come to me, and I'm happy to train them. My job is very clear, is that I will do my best to put the Americans and other nations in a position where they can make that transition without all of this vulgar violence perpetrated by your own governments, the courts, the sheriffs, the police, the deputies, and etc. Okay? Full stop. Now, for those people that want the mortgage elimination, you will be tested for psychopathy, narcissism, and of course stupidity, drug addiction, and so on and so forth. If you are in those precarious positions, please don't contact us. We don't want you. We don't want you. The death pledges that you have is some of the instruments of servitude and slavery bonds that are with you. That's why a mortgage quite literally means a death pledge. This is how bad it is. It's openly telling you that you are a slave and we've put a death pledge on you. In other words, if you don't do what you say, we will consider that as a death pledge. In other words, it's a pledge to your death. You understand what I'm saying? The vulgarity is beyond anything, and it comes under zero tolerance. Anybody sold you a death pledge has already forfeited their life. This is the Corona period. Thank you. Now, you need to also understand cautionary details. The Canadians already emailed me saying, Mark, there is a man trying to sell David Wayne Miller's book to us for $200 or whatever it is, dollars or whatever it is. You don't need David Wayne Miller's book, and these people are fraudsters. Okay, they are fraudsters that will try to take an opportunity to peddle things just for a few £100s. There are lots of people out there on the internet trying to copy what I do and sell it as their own. It is up to you to realize I am unique and what I do is unique. If you go to other people, look, ladies and gentlemen, you don't let strangers into your house, and you don't take up things from people you don't know. Okay, so study my website. So on a cautionary scale, because of the grand scale things that I do, it naturally attracts a lot of people that want to mimic me and try to sell off themselves as doing something that I do. And the unwary are getting caught out. And as my YouTube channel grows bigger and bigger, thanks to you folks, you know, the level of fraud is starting to increase that much more. You know, we try to do our best to take them down, but, you know, we can't spend all day doing it. So look after yourself. Let me just go to a quick presentation. So this particular individual calling itself Leon, he's trying to peddle to the Canadians that you should have David Wayne Miller's book. You know, this is a complete and utter fraudster. He doesn't even know what these things are. But what they do is that they take the opportunity to do, I think you guys understand, and I don't need to analyze it. So please, you know, look out for these fraudsters. I will try to post them as often as I possibly can whenever people email it to me. Okay? But these are highly toxic people, and you have them in your culture as well and in your countries. If the Americans wish to come to me to make this transition smooth as possible, they can do that. But they have to take the initiative. They have to take the initiative. They have to find out who I am, what I am. Visit my website. Qualify me before they come. For those people that want something for free, please just leave. Leave me alone, as it were. Your fate has already been set because you had 2 years to successfully birth yourself into this new world. Okay? You are not welcome. But for the Americans that have had the same level of training as the Canadians did, you can approach me. But you sort it out. You take the initiative. You set the times, and so on and so forth. Avoid gathering in groups. Just put it amongst yourself that you will agree upon a time and a date for that, and I'll honor it with you. You need to come to me in your thousands, not half a dozen. Okay? Full stop. So, just to recap, the courts, the sheriffs, the governments, the governors, the prisoners, the prison guards, the administrators, the banks, whoever it is that have an official position, have told you in every certain way that they think that you are nothing more than worthless trash that deserves nothing, not respect, no honor, no nothing. It is always been the nature of abusers to show contempt for people, from those people that they steal and lie to. And that's the position that the Americans found themselves in. Luckily, they understand zero tolerance, and they are willing, as anybody else, to stop and correct. Thank you very much. I hope that I have covered everything that I need to say. If I need to recap, I would say, watch out for the silent weapons against you, which is misinformation. Watch out and monitor the cyber wars that are taking place. Watch out it, yeah? The centralized systems are not going to survive. They're being taken out. And the things that you need to do, you get on with it by decentralizing yourself. Myself, I knew the banks were going to cause me problems, and yet I still get caught out on these things. As of a few days ago, all my banks, I don't have anything to do with them. Yes, some of the banks are holding large sums of my money, and I'm getting reports, I'm getting emails. I'm actually getting hundreds of emails every couple of hours or so telling me what is actually happening in their countries, yeah, including updates on Ukraine. So the cyber war, which is the quiet war, is what you need to look out for. What's happening in Ukraine? Yes, it has some ties to it because they're trying to make that country as safe as possible and get rid of that democratic dictator, which is an oxymoron, but that is essentially what democracy means. Ocracy means it's a form of self-governance. Okay? Demo, like a demonstration, is something that is not real. Like it's a demo car. It's a demonstration of something that is going to exist. That's what demo actually means. Yeah? Look it up. This is a demo. It's not the real thing. You just think it's the real thing. So I've made that very clear. If people want this understanding for the Americans that are mobilizing across the world, I'll tell them how the system works so they can shut it down at their core. For those individuals that are looking for freebies, don't bother me with anything. Don't come on the training because I'll just press a button and tell you to F off. Okay? So I want to make it very clear. Zero tolerance is the way to go. Thank you very much for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, I'll see you folks. And I really, really hope this transmission has helped you. Once again, I wish you all the best. Thank you, Canadians, Americans, Australians, New Zealand's, so on and so forth. I've just thought of something else to say, and I'm sorry about it. The New Zealand people are emailing me, and the reason why they've gone, shall we say, zero tolerance is because their own federal government said we're essentially going to kick your door in and force vaccinate you whether you like it or not. This is happening to the native people there. They have essentially had enough. You are actually witnessing the death of the non-starter, the death of, albeit the death throes of the non-starter, because they started off with a lie and they're trying to walk away with a lie. The people have understood zero tolerance. I just cannot see how you can tolerate the Supreme Court or any other court, the sheriffs, the bullies, the privateers, and etc. Just can't tolerate it. Thank you very much.